Okay guys, we're going to kickstart the webinar in just a couple of minutes. I'm just waiting for a few more people who are joining at the moment. Andy Shepherd is my name. How are you doing? If it's your first time listening to me, welcome. If not, welcome back. I know we've quite a few regular followers at the moment. So I'm the lead, or clinical lead for Redicare, and we specialize in preventing and treating chronic conditions, including pre and type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, overweight and obese conditions, and dyslipidemia, which is high cholesterol. So if you have any questions now and you want to get your questions, you want to make sure your questions get answered, just pop them into the question section now and I can get around to them as soon as possible. Just before we kickstart, guys, I might just get you to pop in a yes into the question section, and that'll serve two purposes. First of all, it'll let me know that you can hear me. So just pop in yes if you can hear me okay. And also you know where to pop in your questions in afterwards. So just pop in a yes. I can see there's quite a few people on, and it would just be good to know that I can hear you. Great, thanks Claire, Sabrina, Trish, Mike, Paul, thanks. Super stuff. All right, guys, we'll kickstart. I'm going to take myself off camera and I'll just pop up our slides here. Okay, great stuff. All right, guys, listen, thanks for joining me and welcome to this evening's webinar on how to reduce your coronavirus risk. Now, guys, what I'm not talking about here is I'm not talking about the ways to treat coronavirus if you get it. That's a very different thing. I'm talking about minimizing your risk of actually ending up with worse outcomes if you do end up with coronavirus. So essentially, we're talking about strengthening your immune system and avoiding falling victim to the conditions that pose the highest risk to you. So your sort of type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, things like that. So the good news is you can treat all those conditions really, really quickly and really effectively with a lifestyle therapy program, but I'll talk to you about that in a second. So like I said, Andy is my name, guys, and we are delighted to work in partnership with LloydsPharmacy and bringing you this webinar. And indeed, we're delighted to partner with Lloyds in delivering our online lifestyle program, which is called Redicare Control. And I'll talk about that a bit briefly later on. So the webinar will take about 15 minutes and then we'll do a Q&A session at the end. So feel free to type your questions throughout the session so that I can get to your questions first once we get to that last couple of minutes. So guys, do follow the government guidelines at hse.ie, and the webinar is just for how to strengthen your immune system, not what to do if you end up being sick. So guys, when we look at the clinical data emerging around COVID-19, there's quite an obvious and a very strong correlation between, or connection between, certain health conditions and your risk of poor outcomes from coronavirus. So age certainly appears to be a factor, but the other risk factors which appear in the medical records of more than 90% of the cases are highlighted in this study in red. So the main risk factors for ending up very sick and dying, having poor outcomes, which essentially means dying from coronavirus, are diabetes, fatty liver, hyperlipidemia, which is high cholesterol, and also you'll see in there hypertension, which is high blood pressure. You will see coronary heart disease and autoimmune conditions, if they're, particularly if you're on a immunosuppressant medication. But by far the highest risk are obesity, high blood pressure, and type 2 diabetes. Now, I'm not saying that to worry anyone, because if you have those conditions, or even pre-hypertensive or pre-diabetes, the great news is it's remarkably simple to get your blood sugar levels down, to get your insulin levels down, to treat and even reverse those conditions in a matter of weeks. So at Redicare, we spent 5 years researching the physiology of chronic disease, and insulin resistance is at the very core root of all these chronic conditions. So what am I talking about when I say insulin resistance? So insulin resistance it's at the root cause of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and all of those chronic diseases that you see places you at a far higher risk for poor outcomes. So it's really important that we understand what insulin resistance is. And insulin resistance is essentially, it's when your body makes a high level of the hormone insulin, and I'll tell you why that happens, over a period of time, from usually overconsumption of processed foods, and especially processed or refined carbohydrates. So your breads, cereals, granola bars, rice pasta, frozen pizzas, muffins. Breakfast cereals are particularly bad for, and it's funny because when you look at the trends of what people are buying during this kind of time when we're all locked up, and listen, don't get me wrong, I'm no angel either. I've 2 young kids, and when you're sitting at home all day long, and you can't go out, there is a temptation to kind of comfort eat or cook out of boredom. So it's understandable. But when you look at the buying trends, things like cereals and chocolates and all those sort of things are up. And now is not the time for processed food. So as much as possible, we need to be kind of limiting our intake of those foods. And I'll talk about what exactly those foods are in a second as well. So those foods, by the way, guys, those processed carbs that I listed out there, they are responsible for weight gain, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistant conditions. They play a huge part in the pathophysiology of heart disease and many cancers as well. So it's hugely important from an immune function point of view that we cut those processed refined foods. Even if they say low calorie, it doesn't matter. If they've got that high level of processed carbohydrate, they're bad news. Okay, so what causes this insulin resistance that features in all those chronic conditions that puts you at a really high risk of dying from coronavirus? What causes them is overconsumption of processed refined carbohydrates. So you see here in the graph in red, this is what happens when you eat those refined carbs. So if you have a bowl of cornflakes, for example, your blood sugar levels spike up really high, they drop down a couple of hours later, you get hungry again. But what's really important is insulin, which leads to insulin resistance, is the hormone that controls those blood sugar levels. So when your blood sugar levels go up, your insulin levels goes up to match it. And when you repeat that over time, you become insulin resistant. And latter stage insulin resistance is type 2 diabetes. Insulin resistance also causes blood pressure, weight gain, high hunger levels, hormonal dysfunction, you name it, PCOS, lots of other things. So it's not something that you want to go down the path of. So reducing the amount of processed carbs in your diet, reducing down the bread, cereals, granola bars, potatoes, all of those kind of carb-rich foods, and eating more protein and healthy fats, your eggs, your avocado, your cheese, your nuts, all those vegetables, low glycemic index fruits like berries, that would be a much, much better option. It's going to get your blood sugar levels in control really, really quickly as well. So in recent weeks, there's been studies looking at the fact that individuals with better blood sugar control tend to have more favorable coronavirus outcomes. Now, this is not necessarily diabetic patients, but patients who just follow a good diet and have good blood sugar control are going to be at a much better, much stronger position for fighting coronavirus. So let's take a look at which foods we certainly want to reduce our intake of. Processed foods, and again, guys, the days of thinking that if something is lower in calories, it's automatically better for you, they're well gone. It's been thoroughly debunked in the clinical literature. So that skinny blueberry muffin in Starbucks, not that we can get there now, but those sort of foods, they will send your blood sugars through the roof. It doesn't matter if they're 80 or 90 calories, that's irrelevant because your body doesn't use that as a currency. It uses blood sugar and various different hormones. Breakfast cereals of all shapes and sizes, guys. We have homemade granola recipes and homemade porridge recipes on our program, which I'll show you in a second, that people love and they go mad for. But breakfast cereals, as a general rule, are a nightmare for blood sugar control. Fizzy drinks, fruit juices, breads, rice and pasta, they're all the same. And deep fried foods and alcohol are obviously going to, dramatically reduce your immune function as well. So here's the thing a lot of people don't know about, and it's really interesting, but these are the glucose equivalents, so teaspoon equivalents, spoons of sugar of regular foods that we eat all the time and we think are fine. So basmati rice, that's a small serving, 150 grams would be about a third to a half of a container that you get in a Chinese. If you eat that amount of basmati rice, you're going to have 10 spoons of sugar in your blood. So all dietary carbohydrate that's digestible, so anything except fiber, boils down into blood glucose. It has to, for the body to metabolize it as a fuel source. So whether you eat a portion of rice or whether you eat 10 spoons of sugar, from a metabolic, weight gain and insulin resistance point of view, there's not a whole lot of difference. That's a crucial thing to know. So that table gets really scary. That's from the Journal of Insulin Resistance from Dr. Unwin in 2016. It gets really scary when you start to look at breakfast cereals and how they cause insulin resistance or can cause insulin resistance. If you look at the cornflakes one there, for example, and most people would think, cornflakes would be pretty okay. You're talking about a 30-gram serving, and that is tiny. That's 2 tablespoons. It's the kind of kids mini packets that you get. Will leave you with 8.4 spoons of sugar in your blood a couple of hours after eating it. And the really mad thing is that the average portion size in a different paper, they showed us about 90 or 95 grams. I actually weighed out my own portion size to see what would it come in at if I was having cornflakes, and I think it was 120 or something. So I was talking 30, 35 spoons of sugar in my blood if I was to eat cornflakes. So again, guys, those foods are absolutely to be avoided from what's known as a glycemic control, which is just blood sugar control point of view. So what foods we choose to lower our blood sugar levels quickly and safely and treat this insulin resistance, lower your blood pressure, treat and even reverse type 2 diabetes in as little as 8 weeks? And the answer is whole foods. So I've been teaching nutrition for a while, and my favorite answer to the question, sum up in 5 words or less, what's the best advice you could give to someone about their diet? And one of the students I was lecturing to said to me, eat single ingredient foods, which I love, because sardines, meat, fish, vegetables, cheese, the ingredients are single ingredient foods. So non-processed, non-refined foods like meats, fish and seafood, cheese, high vitamin and antioxidant berries, which are low in fructose, the fruit sugar as well, high fiber vegetables, so any vegetables, with the exception maybe of potatoes and sweet potatoes, sardines, liver, and those ancient ancestral foods that we've evolved to eat as humans since the beginning of time are the best foods for optimal immune function and optimal blood sugar levels as well. So we'll take a quick look as well, guys, at the key lifestyle factors in maximizing your immune system and getting yourself to a place where you are strong from an innate immune system point of view. So reducing down those refined carbohydrates, eliminating the breads, cereals, frozen pizzas, granola bars, and to be honest, like I always say to people jokingly, anything that tastes good. But you want to be eating those real whole foods. And I mean, to sum it up, it's really like the diet that your grandparents ate. So those ancient ancestral foods, the local and seasonal fruits and vegetables and meats and cheese. You don't need to be afraid of moderate amounts of healthy fat. I'll cover that another night, hopefully. But just reduce down your intake of refined carbs. Carbs are not inherently bad. So your low glycemic fruits are great. Most of your veg are great. Again, maybe with the exception of starchy veg if you want to control your blood sugar levels. But it's the processing of carbs. It's refined processed carbohydrates like the ones in those pictures that are a disaster. You certainly want to prioritize your sleep, because there is a mad phenomenon, and that is, it's known as NKC production, natural killer T cells. So natural killer T cells are produced when you sleep, and they're kind of like little immune assassins. They fight off any kind of a viral infection. So if you only get 4 or 5 hours sleep and you're up late the night before watching Netflix or whatever it is that you're doing, chances are you're going to be compromised the following day and much more likely to pick up an infection. Exercise, for the moment, to be safe, just in moderation. Don't go mad and ramp it up too quickly, because you can temporarily compromise your immune function. And then eat in line with your circadian rhythm as well, which is basically between sunrise and sunset is the easiest way to explain it. So again, hopefully I can cover that in the coming weeks. But first thing in the morning when you get up to lasting at night when the sun sets, but kind of not eating any later than 7 p.m. if at all possible, are going to help your body's immune system function at its strongest. So guys, like I was saying, we run an online lifestyle program for treating those chronic diseases we spoke about: high blood pressure, hypertension, high blood pressure, pre and type. Our program, which is known as Redicare Control, in partnership with LloydsPharmacy. And Lloyds are the perfect partner to roll this out with, because they have a really strong connection to the community, and they're really super progressive outfit as well. So let's take a quick look at the program features in case anyone is interested in it, and I'll go through the pricing with you shortly as well. So as soon as the user signs up, you have access to a range of features, including custom delivered educational videos, which will teach you about your condition and how exactly to treat it. You've unlimited access to one-to-one phone or Skype health coach consultations, and a peer support forum, which acts kind of like a members forum, a range of recipes, meal plans, shopping lists, and visual food guides. So basically, absolutely everything that you need. And we regularly update our content. We run live webinars. We do weekly video posts. We produce recipe cooking videos. So there's lots there for everyone. And you can see here, all our webinars are available on our webinar library, as are our weekly video posts and our cooking videos. So I'll run through the pricing very quickly. So the pricing is €50 for the first month, and then it's just $14.95 per month thereafter. But there's no long-term contracts, and you can cancel hassle-free at any time. So if anyone is interested in getting started, getting your blood sugar levels under control quickly, minimizing your risk of a poor outcome from coronavirus while losing weight, lowering your blood pressure, optimizing your cholesterol levels, and reversing conditions like high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes in as little as 8 weeks, you can go to controldtx.com/LloydsPharmacy. And actually, guys, I'm just going to find the slide here now, but just as a bonus, what we're doing as well is we are offering Lloyds customers a free consultation. So if you want to do a consultation with me, if you want to talk through what steps do I need to do to treat my condition, you can book a free consultation, and you can do that with Skype or by phone, and that'll be with me just by going to info@redicare.ie. So just send us an email, we'll get straight back onto you, and we'll book you in for a no obligation free consultation with me. So that'll be info@redicare, which is spelled REDICARE.ie. Okay, guys, I'm going to go to a couple of questions here. Okay, so we've got quite a few in. Now, are all carbs bad? No, absolutely not. So non-refined, high fiber fruits and vegetables, definitely not bad. Nuts, seeds, legumes, they're not bad. It's the processed refined carbohydrates which are not ideal. Are vitamins effective, Sabrina? Are vitamins effective in strengthening the immune system? Also, I've recently been diagnosed borderline high blood pressure, low-dose medication, blood pressure is under control, great. Does it mean that I'm less at risk than if the blood pressure is not controlled? Thank you. It does, yeah. So what a lot of the research has shown is that the condition itself doesn't necessarily place you at a higher risk. So we'll say, for example, in the case of diabetes, if the diabetes is well controlled, the blood sugar levels are under control, then you should be at a lower risk. Now, having said that, usually when there is that sort of mild hypertension, there's other metabolic issues underlying it, almost always, which is why high blood pressure fits into a category of something known as metabolic syndrome. So you'll also tend to see things like slightly high triglycerides, blood sugar levels a little bit too high. And actually blood pressure is less to do with salt and more to do with insulin resistance. So I would be inclined to, do you know what, if you want to do a free consultation, like I say there, just send us an email, info@redicare.ie, and I'll go through all the steps that you need to get that under control, Sabrina. And with a view to reducing or coming off medication as well in the long term. Is 100% not from concentrated orange juice? Okay. No, actually, from a blood sugar point of view, it's metabolically identical to Coca-Cola. There's absolutely no difference. The fact that it's not from concentrate makes it slightly better, but again, in relation to, so you mentioned the blood pressure, in relation to the blood pressure, definitely not, because it's going to spike your insulin levels. Does cholesterol go up on a whole food diet? No. What we tend to see in our clinical literature and the studies we publish is that HDL goes up, and it's very predictable, the pattern actually in the lipids. HDL will go up because high density lipoprotein, it's fat and protein, help that kind of build up, and that's your protective cholesterol. Triglycerides tend to go down, which are the dangerous one, and they are your body's manifestation of processed carbohydrates, sugars, and alcohol. They're the main things that contribute to high triglycerides, so they tend to go down. And then your LDL and total cholesterol tend to go down slightly as well. And then what are your thoughts on exercise? I'm reading up about the Boston Marathon study. Okay, great question. So the Boston Marathon study, just for anyone who hasn't seen it, just showed that, you're welcome, Sabrina, just showed that after strenuous bouts of exercise like a marathon, your immune system can be temporarily depressed. But the reason for that, so basically immune function goes down for a few hours. The reason for that is not that ultra endurance exercise is in the bigger picture bad for you. It's the idea around that is just that your body basically starts to reassign where these immune particles go. So where these, what are known as anti-inflammatory cytokines, they're basically your body's way of fighting inflammation, where they go changes. So it makes sense. If you've got really torn up muscles, sore muscles, it would make sense that your body would send resources elsewhere. Are vitamins effective in strengthening the immune system? Sorry, I meant to answer that question. Yeah, vitamins are effective in strengthening the immune system if you get a good quality vitamin. So if you go in and ask the guys in Lloyds, they'll be able to tell you which ones are the best quality. Thank you for your feedback, Paul. I appreciate that. So guys, if you have any more questions, do pop them in there. I hope you enjoyed that webinar. So again, if you want a free consultation with me and to go through all the bits and pieces in terms of how you treat your chronic condition, just send us an email, pop us an email at info@redicare, redicare.ie. I'll let you go, guys, because it's getting late. Thanks so much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the webinar. Feel free to pop a comment in if you did enjoy it, and we'll see you soon. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.